Let's talk more about China and the Yuan with Jamie Metzl, Executive Vice President of the Asia Society. Jamie's also a former Deputy Staff Director and Senior Counselor of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and he joins us here on set. Jamie, always good to have you on. Thanks so much. You know, today's the deadline. President Obama faces that deadline. Again.
Yeah.
And we find out that the deadline got pushed back a little bit, which is not a surprise because that oftentimes happens. What's going to come out of this today?
Well, we'll see. If I had to bet, my guess is they are going to punt once again and delay this. And there are some good reasons to do it. On one hand, China, let's be honest, is manipulating its currency. It's intervening in a major way, both with its currency controls, its purchase of foreign currencies, particularly U.S. dollars.
And Jamie, let me interrupt you for a second, because a lot of people have asked me that. You know, they talk about the China situation, they talk about the currency situation. You know, there's got to be some people at home who say, how does this affect me? If I'm an American and you're from the Midwest, if I'm in the Midwest, if China is in fact manipulating the currency, why should that be important to people in this country?
Well, it helps you and it hurts you. It helps you because when you go to Walmart to buy most everything they have in Walmart, that stuff is cheaper because a lot of it is made in China. And so when we import it here into the United States, we get, let's say, a 20% discount on all of those things. It hurts you because if you are trying to produce something here in the United States, or even more importantly, elsewhere in the world, not only do you have to compete head-to-head with China based on what you're doing, but there's an equivalent of a 20% tax on you. So it makes what we're seeing is just the world's low and mid-level production capabilities all shifting towards China. And this is why it's not just a U.S.-China issue. This is a China and the world issue. And the United States is taking the lead on this, but there are many other countries that are quietly hoping that China will increase the valuation of the RMB because it's hurting a lot of people, but there are people who it's helping.
Well, and of course they're quietly hoping rather than openly calling for, because China's a big trade partner, not only with the U.S., but with the other countries you're talking about.
And they're very aggressive, too. I mean, China is very careful to try to prevent a big multilateral response to its RMB valuations. They don't want a lot of countries coming together, so they try to deal on a nation-to-nation level.
Why hasn't that happened, though?
There's a little bit of a free rider problem. Everybody expects, not only on this issue, but on many issues, that the United States is going to take the lead in taking these kinds of tough positions. And China has been very effective diplomatically. And every time when push comes to shove, and this is happening now not just because of the U.S. position, but because in November there's the G20 summit in Seoul. We just had the IMF meetings in Washington. This issue is emerging. And so China likes to, just before these kinds of meetings, just when this pressure reaches a critical mass, they take a little bit of air out of the tires. And that's just what we're seeing now. So the RMB is just now beginning to appreciate.
And Jamie, in our last minute, there are political considerations in this country. Next month's midterm elections.
This is a political issue. It's a politicized issue, and I think that the American public has every reason.
Rightly or wrongly politicized?
Rightly. I mean, I think that there's one issue. The question one is this a legitimate issue? Absolutely, it's a legitimate American issue. It's a legitimate political issue. If you're a textile worker somewhere, I mean, this is an issue. We cannot compete on a lot of goods for many reasons, and currency is one. And China, just as we have to respond to their politics, they need to respond to our politics and to world politics. So this is a big issue. It's not going away.
All right, Jamie Metzl, Asia Society, joining us on set. Always good to have you on. Thanks so much for stopping by.